I'm Tanja K. Johnson,
I'm Sylvester Barzy.
I'm Alexander Christian.
I'm Ellen Bennett.
and we are Voices of Color. And we want to talk to you quickly about writing for YA audiences. So, how do you guys define what a YA story is?
Well, I personally believe that if the protagonist is in their teen age or maturing into an adult, that could fall into the YA category as long as it's someone that a younger audience could potentially relate to.
I think you got a couple tropes that you hit. Teenage protagonist. The audience that you're writing for is between 13 and 18, and it's usually involving a rite of passage.
Okay, I think that is a pretty solid definition. I would only add to that, yeah, the books are basically for anyone 12 years of age and older. A lot of adults do consume YA stories, so we're not saying that they're only for children, but they are geared towards people 12 years of age and older.
Yeah, because I read The Hunger Games and that was good.
So how do you guys yourself personally write YA stories?
I've only written the one YA story, and most of what was done was through guidance of my wife because my wife was more into YA or had read more YA. Like she read the Harry Potters and things like that. So she guided me. Although I was under the impression that it was just as long as you had kind of like a cast of teens and whatnot. But in my head, I just thought about it like when I was a teenager, and apparently that's not how my wife saw it.
You had a traumatic childhood.
I was I was just like I didn't think it, but yeah. So
I typically shoot for a man, and now that I'm here, I can't remember the word. What's the company that Disney owns? They make The Incredibles.
Marvel.
Oh
wait, no, Pixar.
Pixar. I want it to be fun. I want it to be witty. I want it to have a moral. I like Wreck-It Ralph. I like Big Hero 6.
Wreck-It Ralph is good.
And I aim for a story with a clear right and wrong, a clear black and white moral, a good friend support system. I give the hero some challenges, something physical, something emotional. But overall, it's a fun and uplifting story. Like when you close the book, you're smiling. You're not, reaching for the napkins.
I mean,
I think of The Outsiders it being a young adult book, and I wasn't really smiling at the end of that book. I mean, and I wasn't reaching for napkins either. I was just kind of like, but I don't think that it needs to be like kind of fluffy like that.
yeah.
I mean, Lord of the Flies is horrific.
Yeah. Oh, ooh, that's so bad.
Mm.
And I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure young adults should be reading that.
I felt so bad. What was that kid's name that got hit with the boulder? Piggy or something? Oh, so bad.
I mean, but by me, like these are the stories, the Goonies. Like we subject children to some horrible things in our fantasy and our literature. But when I write YA, I would like my audience to feel better for having read it at the end of it and not, like nihilistic or wondering what's the point of life.
I mean, I want my readers to take some enjoyment from it, take some laughs from it. But I would like to kind of have like a deeper impression. Like when I read The Outsiders, that's one book that just stuck with me. It felt like the first book that I ever read, and and I enjoyed it, and it stuck with me.
I don't ever want to feel what I felt when I closed Where the Red Fern Grows.
I don't think I read that one.
I don't think I felt anything after that. I was just numb. I was tired. Like the writing was kind of exhausting, and I think I was too young when I read it, so it was probably difficult for me to get through. But I really think about YA, and I think about the series The Pretties. I don't know if any of you have read that.
Oh yeah.
It was intense. It was gripping. It was emotional. It dealt with some heavy themes. And that's what I want my YA to feel like. And that's how I write it. I'm working on a story now called The Hearts of Ankara. And it's about a woman who has to ascend to her godhood. And in order to do that, she has to go to Earth and retrieve two hearts. It's not happy. It's kind of dark. It's a little bit gritty, but I'm trying to also stay within the bounds of what is acceptable for a YA story and the themes that I can reach. So, what themes are off limits for YA stories?
I really feel at this point that I don't think there are anything that's off limits. Even at different ends of the spectrum, there's still some things that goes on. Like you have 13 Reasons Why that dealt with like rape and suicide, and then in Twilight, um,
Yeah.
the Edward cut an umbilical cord with his fangs. I feel like it's not totally off limits.
I don't think there is any line in the sand. I
No.
think it's all about how it's done.
Not even gratuitous sex.
Oh, okay.
If you want to quantify it, but
I need
in that point, it's like
that's a
gratuitous
lie.
torture would then be off limits. But I'm saying, I think any subject, depending on how you do it, is on. You know what I mean? I don't like child soldiers or child labor or the white slave sex market. All of these things can be YA topics. I'm not saying you can go into the depth that you would if it was grimdark, but I don't think there's an entire category that is off limits.
And I also believe since the industry knows that although it's called YA, a lot of their readers are adults.
Yeah.
So I feel like most writers do cater to that in some aspects. Like they don't want to just leave things off the table that could interest some of their readers.
Right, and getting back to the theme of sex in YA, you can definitely have sex in your YA stories, but you cannot go into graphic detail. The sex would have to be way more emotionally based and even more so fade to black in the majority of cases. You definitely can't go into detail about the parts and the mechanics, how everything went down.
Totally understandable. I agree with that. There's my line.
I have a question for the group.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where do you stand on violence okay, sex not okay?
I mean, it's just kind of just how our society's been. It's just you can turn on TV and watch somebody's head blow up, but you gotta pay for Playboy, so it's just how it is.
But do you have an opinion on it?
Feel like sex in any form of the way you consume it should be a personal thing, or so I don't really need to see it like all the time and in my face in every form of media. I understand that you're adults and you're having sex. I don't. It just is what it is. But yeah, I do want to see some people die.
As far as violence in my YA stories, I tend to use it maybe a little bit liberally, but it's not as grim or bloody or as intense as it is in my, stories
Yeah.
geared towards adults. I'm not gonna describe how the wound like gushed open and your organs were spilling out all over the place. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna do that for a YA. I'm gonna give you the short end of the stick. Paint a picture, not as vivid, maybe not something that's gonna scar you, but adults, you can get scarred. I don't care.
I mean, which is
Handing
it's
out stuff.
understandable because like in YA, I feel like YA is more emotion driven, and being that most of it is done from the point of view of the main character, that you don't really need to get into details. You just gotta express how it is affecting that person.
hmm I totally agree with that. Anybody else with don'ts for YA stories?
The profanity. I'm not exactly sure where the line is. Like on TV, you can say the H word, but not the W word, and the Q word, but not the K word. I don't know where the borders are in literature.
I just want to drop F-bombs. That's all. I don't know about your H and Q
Why?
words.
Why?
It's just it.
No, that's definitely not allowed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I found that out.
You know what? Put it on the cover.
No,
Yeah, and then no. Think about it in big bold text. Except it's gonna have like the little like at symbol and hashtag.
Yeah, you should just be like, "F you, buy this book."
That is amazing.
as far as swearing in YA, I think that you can swear, but you can't go with the hard swear words. The ones that are gonna really make people go, "Oh wow." No C bombs, no P bombs. I don't, like nothing that's gonna be too much for young ears. I
Hmm.
think H word, the D word is probably where you can draw the line. If you're writing fantasy, hey, you can make up your own swear words
Oh yes.
and do whatever you want because they don't
But
mean anything.
isn't it so? I just think it's funny that like we have YA fiction and we have all these movies that are just like, no, you can't curse for the impressionable minds. And then you walk through your high school hallway and they're like, these impressionable minds already know what these words are. So
And
And not only that, they made some of these words up.
I know.
and you know what I mean. But the 2 Chainz is on the radio at 9 in the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah. So
But his
it's
Queen stuff is on the radio.
Not uphill.
it's crazy because like my wife was just like no because I didn't even think it was like a really harsh word or anything. I think I said like F you or something and she was like no you can't
What?
do that, that's wrong. And I was just like no, because when I was in high school we berated our friends back and forth.
Did
So
you actually say F you or did you spell out the F you? Because there's a difference. Because if you put in her dialogue or whoever the character's dialogue was F you, that's okay. I think it might get a pass.
mm,
Um, but spelling out the F you,
yeah,
it might be
yeah,
too much.
no
So
I'm
which
pretty sure I just did the letters F-U.
okay.
But she it's still in pass.
But see that's one of those things you got to crowdsource. I'm in a group and there's like 200 of us, and I'll put something out, and it'll be real close. It'll be like 63 to 54.
Hmm.
Right? If it's okay or not. I don't
So
know. Who do you even go to for the rules these days?
You don't even get to ask the kids like, "Hey, do you guys
yeah,
think
it's
this is
run by
okay?"
adults.
It's adults
Hey, come here, let
because
me cuss at you. Tell me when it hurts.
yeah, definitely. So you don't want to go too far. I think F bombs, no. Like I said, any other of those harsh swear words are definitely a no go.
IDGAF?
Yeah, you can do that, right? We can we?
Them
The
shits is
acronym
fly
sorry?
AF.
Yeah, IDGAF. I mean, they
I
do it
don't
all the
give
time.
a.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they be like LMF whatever, and they do that all the time. I say they. Oh my god, I'm so old.
So what's the most recent YA book that you read and did you guys like it? Did it gel with like your standards of writing and reading?
The most recent one I read, I feel bad because I don't remember the name. I think it's like The Hollowed or something, but I thought it was about a zombie apocalypse, but from the point of view of this Amish girl, which I was enjoying. I was liking it. And then I saw the monsters, and it wasn't zombies. It was like some vampire things, and I was just like, I ain't like that, and I
Hmm.
moved on. But it was no, it wasn't. It wasn't good.
I read Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, and I thought it was fabulous. I really liked how she dealt with the sexual relationship between her characters in the book. It was very much based on the emotion. It was like a transcendent thing where they were like not even in person in some points of the book where they were like having these sexual tension moments like through mind tapping. I don't know what it was called. It was a while ago. But yeah, she definitely did touch on a lot of themes, death. I don't think there was very much swearing in the book at all. But yeah, I definitely thought it was a definitely good start to series. Anybody else?
I think the last one I read was it's in the I'm number 4 series, but it was the introduction of 6. So it was the third book in the series. Was the last one I wrote. The problem that I was having with it is the problems that they were having were so self-created, which I think it is a somewhat realistic trope when you're dealing with a 16-year-old and your angst and your emotions and your outbursts and your response to things worsen situations rather than improve them. But it was very hard to read. It was very hard to enjoy because I just find those kind of people difficult. I found them difficult when I was 16. So
I would just like to say that I lied. The last book I read was The Hate You Give, and it's amazing.
oh yeah.
Oh, I want
Oh.
Yeah, I love that book. That was great.
Last YA book, I have to confess, I don't read a lot of YA. The last YA book I read was actually a classic.
Twilight.
It was no, it was no. How dare you? No, it was The Outsiders. it was The Outsiders Twilight. Not you. You're not supposed to talk about what
Oh
we talk
no,
about
no, I was
before.
wrong. Wings of Fate. Holy snot! I forgot about all right, sorry.
I just felt like I don't know why this just happened, but you said Outsiders, and we were making fun of Twilight, and I was just like, someone should do a mashup of The Outsiders meets vampires.
No, they should not. If you are
Why
listening,
not?
do not write that book.
Do it.
Absolutely, you should. You should write it and you should send it to me because I want to read it.
Pony Boy is like, should he be a slayer or should he be a newly turned vampire? I like it. I like it. Do it.
I
Make it.
think Pony Boy is going to be the Slayer.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I would love
Okay.
Cherry Valance to be like a Drusilla sort of character. Like
Now
Drusilla
I have to read
from
this
Buffy.
series because I never read The Outsiders.
Oh, it's so good. And watch the movie.
I watched the movie. I didn't read the book.
Oh god, and
Yeah.
then Dally would totally be an angel character. Oh,
Oh, yeah. We just
TT, I
made
think we
Buffy.
have been
That's
left
what we did.
behind.
We just made Buffy.
yes.
Yeah, Wings of Fate was the last YA that I read, and I had the same feeling about it I had as Romeo and Juliet. It's like, how does this make sense? That's a poor
Oh,
decision. Why would you do that?
I loved Romeo and Juliet, but I will admit that I don't really know which one I found more dumb. I feel like Romeo was just one of those hearts on his sleeve people. Like before everything started, he was in love with Rosalind and he saw Juliet. So probably in a week he would have been in love with somebody else. So it was just kind of tragic that they all died. Oh, but you know what? No, let's be real about Romeo and Juliet. None of this would happen if the father, not father as in biological father, the priest didn't put that idea in their head. Oh yeah, fake your death, and then
No, they
like,
were just going to run away.
Advice is that, and they would have
huh?
lived.
Yeah, he was like, oh yeah, you're just gonna fake your death, and everything's gonna be cool, and then you and Romeo could run away. But oh dang, I didn't tell Romeo.
I
Ah.
don't know if you don't know what happens to a 16 and a 13-year-old running across the countryside with no income, but they was not going to be okay.
Definitely not.
Well, I mean,
But
income
that
was
wasn't even
like,
a YA story, so we really digress.
oh yeah.
That's plays, and that was definitely for adults. It was tragedy.
No, wasn't that for? Yeah, that was YA.
The two main characters were children. However, it was definitely an adult story.
There was 3 adults in that whole movie.
You talking about the Leonardo DiCaprio one?
Yeah, but I mean, even the
Yeah.
father when he broke up the fight at the beginning, right? And he's like, "Hand me my long sword." Boom, the priest, and there's one more adult. That cast has 62 people, all teenagers. A pox on both your houses.
On that note, I gotta cut it short.
The uncanny ability to make everyone want to be somewhere else.
All right, guys, it's done. I gotta cut it. Okay, this has been Voices of Color. Thank you for listening. Bye.